Welcome to Waiting on the Trade, a monthly comics book club for people who can't keep up with monthly comics. I'm Matt Ledger.
I'm Patrick Fitzgerald Fleck.
And I'm Suzanne Payne.
This month we're talking about Blackbird Volume 1 by writer Sam Humphries, artist Jen Bartel, and a whole bunch of other talented folks. Now, in case y'all need a refresher, Blackbird almost answers the question, what if Harry Potter took place in LA, while also incorporating a bunch of magical girl manga and anime elements. It is a fun ride.
It's a ride.
So before we get too far into this, though, Suzanne, welcome to the podcast. It's your first time here.
Welcome, Susie.
So far, we're having lots of fun.
so far, we've talked about Hogwarts plumbing off Mike.
and cookies.
And Christmas cookies, which I'm excited to put in the show notes at some point. So, Suzanne, typically we have new hosts kind of walk us through their introduction to comics and like how they got into comic books or comics in general. So, what was your first comic, if you remember it?
Like my first actual like comic stuff that I remember is that for some reason at my house growing up, we had the DC and Marvel encyclopedias. I don't know why, but we had both of the encyclopedias, and my sisters and I would just go through and like read about all of like the main comic book characters and then also like the really obscure ones. And when I was younger, I mean, my mom was just like, you like whatever you like, I don't care. And so like we were really into a bunch of different animes, and like my sister got into really into different like mangas and stuff like that. And then my older sister was into X-Men, but then I decided that I was too cool for that, even though I really wasn't. Like both of you know. And then I didn't really get back into like the comic kind of thing until I was in later high school and early college. I had like the Avi comic book, if you guys remember that. It came out like when we were in high school, and it was by the guy who created like Poppy and stuff. And it was like this rough side. And then once Simon and I moved in together, we started getting some other like comics. We got some single like paperback ones, and then we got trades. And he actually got me really into Fable first, and then kind of expounded from there. Anything that could catch my eye.
Cool.
Yeah. Decided I was actually a nerd and just stayed with it.
I like that you decided then, as though we weren't all just like band geeks together forever anyway.
Yeah, I just couldn't deal with like the Twilight books and stuff. I'm like, why am I doing this? These are stupid.
Amen, Suzanne.
Yeah, and poorly written. Poorly written.
Oh, hey, talking about that, how did you find out about Blackbird?
Oh, damn.
So
I joke, sort of.
I think I told you this a little bit on Friday, but when Simon and I had been in Barnes and Noble, like we do, like every time we go out.
It's an amazing place.
And Simon was looking for D&D books.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. And then whenever we go, we always just check out what's in like the trade section. Because I do get all of like the Fables and the Ferris collection, and then every now and then I'll pick up a like Wonder Woman or Batgirl. And Simon walks over to me. He's like, "Oh, do you see this one?" And like the coloration, and then on the back, seeing that she was like a magical girl, I was like, "Yes, let's do it." I didn't read anything. I was just like, "Perfect, taking it now."
It is a very vibrant book. Like, it's gorgeous.
So I bought it all based on what its cover looked like.
I mean, I do that all the time.
Yeah, so I definitely judged this by its cover and said, yes, I will take it.
You sort of do that with comic books. You have to judge them by their covers.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah. Especially if they're like shrink wrapped or something. I was in a comic store yesterday. I was in a comic store yesterday, and it was a store where like they shrink wrap all their books for some reason, which makes no sense to me. I would let you look inside to see if you like it before you buy it if it was my store, but
I fanned through and saw like how vibrant it was elsewhere, and saw that there was a cat, and I'm like, sign me up.
Done and
the
done.
Cat was good.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things, and I like kind of trying out new things when I'm not sure, and it's like, if I didn't like it, whatever,
Sure.
can make it work out.
So you judged it by its cover. How accurately do you think you judged it? Do you feel like you got what you expected based on the cover?
A little bit, I guess. Because then also like when you go into the very back and you find out that like this is the first thing that they created on their own, like obviously it's its whole own concept and everything. They're not bringing it from somewhere else. And it's like good try. Like I'd be interested to see where they could take it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Definitely.
They were setting up lots of interesting stuff.
Yeah, to the point where I kind of even felt like this one was a little bit overpacked, if anything. Like there were
Yeah.
bits and pieces I would definitely I'm interested to pull at in later volumes potentially.
Yeah. It's on a hiatus right now.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I ended up actually buying the single issues on Comixology because they were on sale, so they were cheaper than
Okay.
the collection.
Hmm.
So then I
Yeah.
was like, okay, when did the last issue of this come out? And it was like May of this year, right?
May 2019 is when like the full like trade back came out.
Okay.
But I got it in June. So I don't know when in May, so I don't know if it was like late May or early May. But when I just looked into it a little bit, it just said that they were like in hiatus.
Okay.
So I don't know if that just means that like they went back to work on like the writer works on like Harley Quinn and Green Lantern and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think he's doing Dial H for Hero right now, which is supposedly really good. I haven't read it though.
Yeah, and then like the artist who is also co-creator, she works for Marvel, Disney, and other things. So I don't know if they just haven't had a chance to like sit down and talk about what they want to do next because of other projects. Like I don't know why it's in hiatus.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I think a lot of image books have been running into, especially semi recently. I was actually just thinking through a bunch of books that started like around 2014 that I really like, and there's like one of those series, no, two of those series that have finished at this point. It's East of West is going to wrap up, I think, at the end of this year, and then The Wicked and the Divine has finished. But like of those 7 series, a lot of them have been hiatus or perma stopped.
Yeah, so it's like it seems like there was quite a few people who purchased this, so it's not like it wasn't like I would say it was probably like moderately popular from what I could see.
I mean, people were super excited about it from what I remember because it is like Jen Bartel's first actual interior comics work. I think I know she does like her own prints and stuff. She's got a super popular
Yeah.
Twitter, which if you like the art in this, you should go follow her on Twitter because it's great. It's wonderful. And like, so she sells a bunch of art prints and pins and all that stuff. But I think this is her first interior comic work to the point where I think she has someone doing like the actual page layouts in this book and I can't remember that person's name.
Yeah.
Hang on.
She has some Sailor Moon prints. I love Sailor Moon.
Oh yeah, so the layout artist is Paul Rainwand. Rainwand? I don't know. But basically what that means I believe is like that person's doing like the initial page breakdowns and then Jen's like finishing the page with like her lines and stuff.
Yeah.
So and then doing colors for some of it, I believe.
It looks like she's doing stuff right now for Captain Marvel. So maybe that like
Yeah, there's only so much time in the day, right?
yeah, and if you're part of like this big thing, even though you want to do your side thing, I mean, sometimes you got to do what gets you paid. as we
No,
were,
it makes sense.
as we were talking before, why I can't just be a cookie artist all the time.
I was actually wondering if if we were gonna be able to tie that back in when we were talking about it like off mic about the fact that you would totally just be a cookie artist if you could be if you imagined that you could pay the bills with it.
Yeah, I would just be a cookie artist and like any other type of artist and just like craft if I didn't have to like purchase things and like live.
So you can do it. You just
So
gotta work for Disney and Marvel in the meantime.
I know that's all I
Do
gotta
those
do.
Disney Marvel corporate cookies.
But I mean, she's also like she's working on Captain Marvel, which is just awesome in general too. And like she gets to draw all this badass women, so I could see why she wants.
That's the thing too, is like this series will always be here, right? Because it's theirs, like it's not going
Yeah, it's
anywhere, and
not
there's not.
someone else's. Like
Yeah,
she can't say how long she's gonna be able to be drawing Captain Marvel. Like you just can't guarantee that.
I'm just scrolling through jenbartel.com right now. I'm looking at this very pretty Thanos print and wondering if I should buy it.
I'm at her Instagram.
I imagined you would love the just like straight up in the name of the moon panel. I think that's in issue 4 or 5, right?
It's the back cover photo, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yes, I
Is
love that picture.
With the angry cat on her shoulder?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I love it. I loved everything that was like full page art.
The full page, spreads are gorgeous. Every single one of them.
But yeah, art. I'm a very arty person.
I cannot argue that the art in this is pretty great.
But I feel like you've been itching to argue about the other bit.
Oh boy.
It goes very fast through some things. And
the pacing is...
when you want something to be a mystery, it sometimes doesn't allow it to be a mystery. And I don't understand why we have this like badass bitch kind of girl. Sorry, I didn't ask if I could swear or cuss.
Yeah, what the fuck, Susie?
We've got the explicit tag. We can do whatever we want.
Okay.
This isn't a podcast for children.
I mean, I don't usually swear at all, but like.
But the book has driven you to it.
But like.
Nina.
Yeah, Nina's made out to be like this powerful kind of chick.
I mean, sort of. She's also made out to just be like, I mean, if we're swearing anyway, she's kind of just like a fuck up also, though.
Yeah, but like she has the, I don't need my family. They've left me behind. But then all of a sudden, like, she almost like makes out with this guy. Like,
yes.
And
oh my God.
Like, there's no reason why there should be any romantic chemistry between them, but it's like, oh no, am I about to kiss him? Oh, what am I doing?
They're 2.5 issues into the series. They gotta have some sort of
romance. It was not 2.5 issues in. It was like the end of the arc.
Yeah. But it was just like, I was like, why do we have to push this? Why do we have to push a romance?
All right, so I typed up a synopsis if you want to go through the...
You want to run through it?
The plot? Yeah, the plot real quick.
Okay.
Feel free to jump in. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so it opens. Nina survives an earthquake as a child. Yeah,
Nina. 2 N's.
Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria survive an earthquake as a child by being rescued by a giant cat demon. All witnesses have magically forgotten the incident, but Nina is able to resist the spell, and she loses her pet cat.
Sharpie.
A month later, her mother is killed in an accident. Car accident, that is. Nina grows up, convinced that magic is real, but no one believes her. She's a crazy baby.
Your favorite word of the whole series.
God, it triggered me every single time. She has problems with drug abuse, dealing with her separation and loneliness. 10 years later, her sister gets kidnapped by the same cat demon, and Nina's pet cat is back, but now has a third eye and can talk, but only in lies.
And bullshit, Pat. It doesn't talk in lies. It talks in bullshit.
Nina meets up with a Paragon dude who shows her the secret world of Paragons, which Nina already knows about because of the internet.
Yeah.
She gets attacked by a random Paragon girl who uses Nina's negative memories to supercharge her magic. Nina escapes with the help of the Paragon dude and pet cat. She has a romantic moment with Paragon dude, which is interrupted by her dead mother. His name is
Clint. I know his name is Clint because she said it like 5 times every single issue.
Never got it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, his name is Clint, and his dad is the leader of one of the sects.
It's true. So they almost kiss, interrupted by not dead mom, who turns out to be a leader of a Paragon faction and seems to be the one controlling the cat demon.
I think she is the cat demon.
I don't know, because they're both in the same panels.
It seems
also, she enters a doorway through the cat demon, so how can she be a portal and come through the portal at the same time, Matt?
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, now I'm thinking back and
I think the cat demon, the great beast, is more like her like paramour or like her minion.
Familiar?
Yeah. Than like her.
Okay.
Yeah, could be. Mom is dismissive towards Nina and only wants her to forget what she knows about magic and paragons. Nina is rightly upset that her mother faked her death, and to get her attention, blows up
you
one of her...
editorialized there.
Yeah.
You said rightly
I did.
upset. You editorialized a little bit.
I wrote the damn thing. I can riff all I want, man.
So honestly, Pat, I'm always torn when we do like the plot synopses of like whether we should do them or not, because I feel like most of the people that are listening to the podcast probably read the thing, right? But the reason I wanted to definitely let you do it this time is because I wanted your like righteous indignation, like the further you get into it.
Yeah, stop interrupting me. I'm on a flow, god damn it.
Okay, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Keep editorializing.
Nina is upset that her mother faked her death and to get attention, blows up one of her mother's faction's spell depositories.
Yeah, you know, they're meth labs.
Yeah. Mom then sends not dead sister to deal with Nina. They fight. Nina wins. Paragon dude brings her to his Paragon dad, who is a leader of a different Paragon faction.
Can you run that sentence one more time?
Sure. Paragon dude brings Nina to Paragon dad, who is a leader of a different Paragon faction. It's really straightforward, Matt. Follow along.
Paragon dude, Paragon dad is the name of track 5 on my new concept album.
Yeah, it's great. Paragon dad offers to make Nina a Paragon, but she'd have to be a part of their faction, not her mother's. Pet Cat has curse dispelled so he can explain to Nina that her memories have been altered to hide the truth. Nina decides to confront her mother to get the whole truth. Mom explains that she was a renegade Paragon, quote unquote Blackbird, being born to Paragons but not a Paragon herself. But Nina actually died in the earthquake, and Mom had to make a deal that she'd become a Paragon if her Paragon parents resurrected Nina. Whew. The resurrection made Nina a half Paragon. She can use magic but not control it. Mom never wanted to be a Paragon and knows that all Paragons are inherently murderers. A Paragon is killed during the transformation ritual, so really doesn't want Nina to become one. Nina ignores Mom's concerns and accepts becoming a Paragon of Paragon Dude's faction. Cue political turmoil between the Paragon factions.
Yeah, with that one like splash page at the end that's super pretty, but also like doesn't fit the flow of the story at all with the Polaris faction or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, the orgy that's just happening for some
reason. I mean,
Yeah.
like, nice drawing.
Well, Salome was here this weekend, and
Yes.
I was showing her, and she opened up to that page. She's like, "Is that an orgy?" And I was like, "I guess."
Yeah, it probably is though.
I don't know why, but it is.
So yeah, that's Blackbird.
Okay, so Pat, I know via text message that you didn't like the writing. Can you elaborate on why?
Pacing is off, as we've said before. Things seem just to happen right after each other. It starts 10 years in the past and like 4 pages go by and all of a sudden it's 10 years in the future.
See, I didn't have that big a deal with that, I feel like.
She's a crazy baby. She's then crazy baby now. She doesn't like being a crazy baby then. The dialogue, Matt,
Okay, so
pretty bad.
I actually argued with Kat, my wife, Drink If You Play the Drinking Game, about that on the way back, because she also was like, I don't like Nina. She talks like a millennial. And I was like, yes, she talks like a millennial. Like, that's how she would talk.
Yeah, that's one thing I said to Pat was that I don't know if this would be a comic book or like a series that would have lasting power. So like I also own the like first copies of the Wonder Woman series. And I feel like that's something that even though it's set in a specific timeline, it's still classic enough that you can continue like reading it and have like nostalgia towards it. But I think this is too like 2019, 2018, almost Visco Girl. Like she's too set in her timeline.
So I feel like they were aiming for a CW comic book, which I think they got. And maybe I'm just not a fan of CW shows.
Okay, Pat.
Enough to enjoy it.
Pat, it's magic gangs in LA dealing gem drugs. Like it's CW as heck, Pat.
It is. And I mean, like, I like Riverdale. Like, I'll put that out there. I like Riverdale.
I haven't seen a Riverdale, but I feel like I should. Is where I'm at on it.
Like, I think it's almost like the right amount of ridiculous. Like, if that's weird to say. Like,
no.
And even though I think one, it was paced too quickly, definitely.
Yes.
And
Yes.
2, I think that Nina herself is just too much of like a 2018, 2019 kind of thing. But I don't,
Sure.
I think it's more of her design than like what she says so much, but
I just really don't like Nina. Like,
See,
as
that's
a
the thing is, like,
protagonist,
I think of the 4 people I've talked to about this comic so far, I'm the only one who even close to likes Nina.
I think she's okay. I like few concepts of her. Like I was telling you on Friday, I like that she's like a damaged protagonist. And
sure.
I do like the fact that she's been kind of like shunned by her family and that she has these addictions and issues because I feel like a lot of times, especially female protagonists in comics, don't have it rough or don't have anything bad about them. Like they're idyllic girls who are like, I'm gonna stand up for justice. And Nina's like, I'm not freaking crazy. I told you, like, sorry, give me a
And that's
beer.
like most of what she wants, right? She just wants to not be crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy baby.
she just wants people to like treat her like she's normal and
Not a crazy baby.
yeah, and not really care that
Where'd the phrase
she has
crazy
it.
baby come from?
It's because she's crazy and she's the baby of the family.
Yeah,
but
it's not
it's
that hard
not-
to figure out.
It's not a common saying though. Like,
It's just her nickname, man.
oh my
Hey,
god.
speaking of Riverdale, she did an Archie print. Jen Bartel. Very
But Archie,
nice.
he's real hot. So
Yeah,
what are you gonna do?
he's the buffest.
Yeah, that's a little weird. In Riverdale, he's like, but they make it work. So like the actor that plays him on Riverdale is like
but
super
they make
buff.
it work.
No,
Now we're
so what
talking about
happens
Riverdale.
is that it's like the beginning of sophomore year, and then like Betty's been gone for the summer, and then she's looking across into Archie's room, and she's like, "Damn, Archie got hot." It's like, yeah, it must be from working at his dad's construction company all summer. So it's like he just hit
Because
puberty.
those 15-year-old boys can really, pack on the muscle.
He's
Yeah.
got to be 18. There are probably sex scenes in that show, right? I mean,
sophomore
Oh, yes.
in high school.
Yes, there are a lot of them.
That is just weird. It's weird.
welcome to
weird.
Riverdale Roundup, a podcast within a podcast where we talk about Riverdale, even though 2/3 of the podcast hasn't ever seen it.
Seriously, sit down, binge it. I haven't seen any of season 4 yet, but I binge it at the end. That's why. There are
boy.
some weird things. You're like, Archie.
No.
Yeah. Pat's stopping it here.
Matt, we can start our own podcast where you watch Riverdale and you talk to me about it.
Oh, you
after
can be
that.
the expert and I can be the new person. I like being the new person watching shows.
You guys enjoy. It's all yours.
I do also know quite a bit about like the background of the characters in general from Archie comics.
A comic that has staying power. Let's get back to the one that we're talking about now that probably doesn't have as much.
Dude, I like this book, Pat. Overall, like
Matt,
I would read the
why?
second volume of it.
Why do you like this book? I want to ask you.
So I don't.
I like
think
the concept.
I think the art is gorgeous.
Yes.
Like, I can't argue.
I think
Every
we all
single
are hands
page
down agreed on
has a
that.
but the story is delivered poorly. I don't like World of Paragons is an interesting concept, but delivered just awfully.
I will give you that. I have qualms, and I think my qualms are. I think I have some of the same qualms that you probably do, and some of them I don't. I kind of like Nina, and I'm not surprised that you don't, because I think for the same reason that Kat was telling me she's dumb for the last hour and a half on the way home. Like, I feel like you guys have similar taste in at least that aspect of protagonists where you want them to be smart or at least like put
Sympathetic.
together a little bit. Yeah, sympathetic.
She's just all over the place.
That's how real people are a little bit.
Yeah, but that's fine. But I'm reading a book that I have to be seeing through her eyes. So you got to give me something to work with. She wants Paragons to be real. She finds out they are, and then she just goes with it. Like, there isn't anything like the fact that she knows about them. She's like, oh, I read it on the internet. Is such a crap conceit.
It is a little bit of a cop out, but it gets you moving through the plot. So I don't know how I feel about that.
It's literally, it gives you the opening to explain your world, and they just glossed over it saying 10 years later. They could have done 2 pages of her looking at these internet forums that told what Paragons are.
Yeah.
Like, the only definition of what all the factions are 3 still panels of their outfits that don't seem to correlate with anything else in the book.
I do feel like introducing the factions didn't have to happen yet, or if it did happen, it could have been expounded upon a little bit more. Like I probably would have not honestly introduced the other two yet.
Or it could have just been like, oh, those are other types of factions.
Yeah, as opposed to the attack or whatever we get, which I mean, part of it's just action has to happen in comic books, and you get to see some cool action that way. So I don't know. Like
but I have no stakes in anything. Like I don't know like one faction from the other. Why is her mother's faction any different than Paragon?
Well,
Dude's
they're in
faction?
Silicon Valley, Pat. It's completely different.
Oh,
They
I don't.
each
Okay.
have their own space. Like they have their own setting and everything.
Well, like
Hey,
one of my
Yeah,
qualms with
yeah.
it was it really depended on you knowing stuff about LA that like even as a person who has lived in California for the last 2.5 years, don't know about LA. Like the East Side, West Side stuff where there's so much shade being thrown at the West Side throughout this.
I mean, it made me laugh, but I don't know. But I do have to say
Yeah.
this about the writing, Pat.
Mhm.
Still a better story than Twilight.
Well, that doesn't take much.
No one on this podcast is going to argue for Twilight. I don't like Nina makes. She wants Paragons to be real. She is upset that the giant demon cat steals her sister away, not her. Like, gosh, Nina. And she's like, oh my gosh, I bet my sister's dead. Oh man, it could have been me. What? What?
So for her sister also to use the powers and everything, her sister would have had to die, right? Because
Yeah, but
that's
she
the
doesn't
thing.
know that.
No, well, and we haven't had anything about her sister being like proclaimed dead or anything.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys actually understood how long her sister
No.
has or hasn't known. I like that I just ended. We could have just ended that sentence and understood for you, Pat. But like how long her sister has or hasn't even known about the magic stuff. Like if she's
Well-
completely new to it, she should be as good as she is, probably, right? By issue 5 or whatever.
Her sister
Yes.
was there when she was resurrected.
Yeah, but couldn't they
Sure.
have just forgot? Like you forget her also, like the way they tried to do with Nina.
I
don't
don't know. It
I was
doesn't.
very confused about that. That's one of the things that I could have used a little bit more space on.
Yeah.
Like almost everything needed more space. I don't think any one of the concepts in this was given enough time to fully breathe. Like there's a random police detective thrown in there for no reason.
Okay, but the scene where they come to like shut down the shoe shop for selling counterfeit shoes is kind of good though.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know.
The fact that cop comes back in a more serious role later was interesting to me, but I liked the gag bit with the shoes.
Well, and how does it all work that they have like a ton of like are they just naturally very rich or like where does this rich money part come from as well?
Are they selling the gems? Like so like they kind of equate to gangs, right? It seems like at least like
That's what
instead
it
of like
seems.
Hogwarts houses, there are 4 LA like wizard gangs.
They have like territory and stuff. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like. Did you guys ever watch the film The Last Witch Hunter? Vin Diesel's The Last Witch Hunter.
I have
No.
not, Pat. I've not had the pleasure.
It's exactly what this comic is. It's just a crazy story about a crazy world that they never fully explain. You're just there for the ride. And it works as a movie because there's spectacle and everything, and it's Vin Diesel and how deep can
Well,
you
there's
get?
spectacle in this, Pat. We like all we talked about for the first 20 minutes of the podcast was the art. There's spectacle in this.
One of the things that Jen Bartels like talked about in an interview that I read is that she was cautious of creating her own world because it was like the first thing that they were working on being creators. And so that's why she chose to make it based like in LA so that it had a little bit of substance in reality. So she was already kind of saying like, you know, a little concerned about creating this whole new world.
I'm
Yeah.
absolutely like having it grounded is fine. It's just I need more than Nina saying I read it on the internet. These are gems that have spells in them. Paragons need to use these bracelets to use them. It's just like a whole bunch of nonsense that Nina's giving me, and I don't like Nina to begin with.
Well, that's
so-
the thing I think what they're likely depending on in the first volume is that it's the volume that introduces you to Nina and you're supposed to be compelled to it, if not like her, at least want to follow her through the story. And if that doesn't work for you, then you're not going to get through the opening salvo, basically. Which I'm not sure. I mean, at that point, if you should, right? Like everything's not for everyone. But I think that's kind of the the opening salvo of the story is very Nina dependent. So whether you're going to get into because I feel like all the explanations for the other stuff are there. Like they're behind the surface, especially from the last issue. I feel like at least it started to click for me of there's a little bit more to this and it might make sense by volume 2 or 3. Well, but if you're not willing to wait that long, then you're out, right?
I'm 5 issues into a story. No, 6. How many are in this thing?
6, yeah.
I mean, at that point in Die, another crazy thing, I knew what was going on.
This is true.
Look, name any other crazy thing. Sandman. 5 issues into Sandman.
I don't know if you do know as much about what's going on by issue 5 of Sandman, honestly.
But you have more of a basis. They've explained who the Endless are. It's not just some random people that show up and then disappear. Just like, I don't know. They didn't lay the groundwork for the world that they're building. A world that I would be interested in if they had.
No, I think that's fair.
They also give away a lot of things that they don't need to give away right away.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Like, I see where you're coming from with that, Suzanne.
The fact that, how quickly we find out that her mom's still alive. Like, I don't know if, I feel like it could have been more of, a slow burn with that. Like, I know it happened, in the 4th issue or 5th issue, which seems worth it. But, maybe in the next trade, we still just see the Great Beast, and maybe we don't need to see that her mom's there, or that her mom, is dead and whatnot, and her sister's still there. Maybe we see her sister.
Yeah, and even just the, having that confrontation with her sister, that one was one of the ones that was so quick, yeah. It just kind of popped up and it happened, and then it was done. I liked the cats bit. The cat's bit was good.
Oh, you're alive. Thank goodness. I love you. Oh, why do you get to be a paragon? I want to be a paragon. I'm going to fight you.
Spoken like a person who's never had a sibling pet.
It's all about...
so realistic, honestly.
Especially for being the younger sibling. You always want what that other sibling has.
Oh, you're alive. That's great. Let's fight. Sounds correct.
The only character development is Paragon, dude. Everyone else, they're just there. They're just doing things.
Nina's the character development.
Yeah? How'd she develop?
She goes through an entire arc of finding out that she's not crazy and then becoming a magic wizard by the end.
So at the very beginning, she was like, I want my mom. I need my mom. I need my mom for this. She needs to help me. But then at the very end, she's like, well, F you now too. I thought you were the only one that would be there for me, and you're pushing me away.
By the end of it, she's like, fuck my mom, I'm going to join a rival gang.
Yeah, but it's the same Nina since the beginning of the show where she's talking about, fuck my sister, I don't need to live with her.
But does she mean that at that point?
I don't know, Matt, because the dialogue doesn't clue me in.
I think hers, the original stuff against her mom or her sister is a little bit more I know that I effed up, but you don't need to keep bringing it up. If I wasn't here with you, I wouldn't have to deal with it. I wish I could be on my own, kind of thing. So in that regard, she's trying to push away more.
I don't know. I feel like she's impulsive at the beginning, right? You would agree with that? But she also is impulsive at the end because she just suddenly decides to become a paragon.
No, that's a tried and true personality trait. I don't think that's gone anywhere by the end of the book.
Well, and I don't know if in 6 issues you can really expect that much of...
To change the fundamental core of someone's character?
Yeah.
No.
Well, they're the ones that decided to do a 6 issue. If they needed more time, make it 12 issues. Slow the story down. Develop some things.
I think that's not the arc that's happening in this 6 issues, though. I think the arc that's happening is the arc that Suzanne was talking about, where she's going from wanting her family to finding this completely new quote-unquote family that's still using her, right?
Yeah,
she's not going to be happier with these people.
Yeah, that's what you expect, at least. Or at least that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, we'll see.
Sure. Yeah, we'll see how long the hiatus goes.
I was going to say that, but I'm not. I didn't want to be that entitled.
Well, I will, for you.
Thanks, Pat. I appreciate it, actually. If the fans demand it, there will be more Blackbird. Start writing letters, Pat.
Yes, I will. Don't write anymore. This is fine. It's good. Just stop.
It does actually almost feel like and you're gonna not agree with me, I feel like, Pat, as I'm thinking about the sentence. It does almost feel like a complete story to me. Like, you could stop it here and I'd be fine, honestly.
I'd be interested to know like what else would happen. Like she's kind of said, "All right, I disown you and I go with them."
Paragon dude.
Yeah, Clint and his whole Paragon faction.
The fact that we don't know the name of the factions is indicative of the problem with this story.
There's the Polaris faction,
Polaris
the
is
Iridium faction, the
Okay.
Zahn faction, and
Yeah.
the other one. I don't know what the
Oh, the other one. There we go.
Polaris is the orgy faction.
Oh, they're into orgies.
The
Okay.
Zahn is what Clint's part of.
Yeah, what differentiates them from the other ones?
I don't know if I would have bothered with it yet. Again, I don't like.
I would. I think it's part of my favorite bits of like fantasy-based stuff is to have what are the rules of this universe.
Okay,
of
so
this
talking
world.
about that, actually, the thing that I think I wanted more on the most was the actual gems and like what the
Yes.
constraints and how they
Yeah.
anything
How
on
they
like
work.
how they work. Yeah,
They're a pretty gem, and that's a different spell than that pretty gem.
yeah. Which I like the names. Not all the names actually tell you what they do, which is weird to me. And then like, how do they work? Where do they give it? Like, there's a whole depository of them, right? There's like a whole
Yeah.
drug lab of gems, essentially. Like,
Yep.
and like we maybe would have gotten that if they'd actually started training her at all in this one. But the whole thing in this one is she's untrained and doesn't know how it works and blah blah blah. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
she's a Blackbird. And the whole initiation thing, which is this story, like it's the backbone of the story, is Nina wasn't fully initiated. She like is half and half. They don't fully explain how it works. Like they talk about paragons had to die to become a paragon. Nina was actually killed in that earthquake. And then there's a jackal and a beacon, and one is a literal wolf and one is a glowing gold dude, and they're at a diner that looks like, in a way, like it's weird. It seems like a mystical, magical place, but then she woke up with a matchbook of the Oasis in her pocket when she woke up from the earthquake. So I don't know what it is. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, you're supposed to want to know more, Pat. Follow Nina on her adventures. In
Yeah.
Blackbird number 7.
Or just accept it for what it is.
Also fair.
What is it?
It's a boat.
It's very pretty, and I accept that. It seems like a waste to me. It seems like they had a cool premise, and they just like glossed over it. And that bugs me.
I mean, that's the thing. I would read more of it if only to get answers to some of the questions we don't have answers to. I'm not sure we shouldn't have gotten some of them already, but I still want the answers. So, like, I'd read it. I'd read more of it. Like, I find it on Comixology sale, I'll buy it. Find it at the library, I'll get it.
So free or at a reduced cost, you'll pick it up. Good. Awesome.
I mean, Pat, the secret is like there's a lot of comics out there. There's a lot of comics out there.
It's true. It's true. And when I was reading this, I couldn't help but compare it to Wicked and Divine.
Thought we were going to talk about that, actually.
Eerily similar in premise to this.
Yeah, and like wanting
premise
to be part
and
of
style,
the crowd, and also yes, like the art style and the colors, especially. I think is what's going to get you there. Like the coloring style between Matt Wilson and then / Jen and whoever the other colorist is on this book, which I'm totally going to flip back and find before we get off of this sentence. It's Triona Farrell. Yeah. So yes, it's very similar style and like very similar premise, and then like completely different execution, though.
Yes, I would agree. One is done very well.
I wasn't going to go that far.
Blackbird. I will do it because I reread Volume 1 of Wicked and Divine, and I was hooked again from Volume 1. And plus, Paragon Dude does look a lot like Inanna. Do you agree? Do you agree, Matt?
I do now that you're saying it. Yes.
Well, you're going to see similar characteristics between... Well, I guess she didn't draw it. I was going to say, like, the same artist drawing different people. You're going to see similarities, but she wasn't the artist.
It is published by the same publishing. It's both Image.
Yeah,
comics,
but that means like roughly nothing in the world of Image. Image will publish anything they think is good, basically.
Well, I think it's interesting they picked up a series that is so close to another best-selling series that they have.
I mean, this is probably announced around the time that Wicked and Divine announced it was coming to an end, honestly.
They just want to keep that train rolling.
I mean, it was something to be said for if you like this, you'll like that sort of thing, right? Like we're going to do that at the end of this podcast, basically, right? So,
Well, and I think I did like the fact that the characters weren't all like whitewashed.
For sure, there are people of color.
yeah, no, it's a very LA book for being set in LA, which is awesome. Like it's very cool. And like I think they're like Nina's family is of mixed ethnicity also.
Yeah,
Like
she's like of Hispanic and Asian descent, it seems.
yeah, it looked like.
Yeah.
I mean, especially the black bean noodles in there at Christmas was a nice touch. The jajangmyeon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that decision you were talking about, Suzanne, to set it in a real place actually does help a lot. I think there were things that could be elaborated on, but I think that being able to, I don't know, being able to set up like magical gang boundaries that are like on the freeway in LA is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just think it's an interesting choice. Like the first big problem that Nina has is that she believes in magic and paragons and no one else does.
Mhm.
And then right away, paragons are real. They're doing lots of paragon stuff. A cop knows that they're real. Who didn't think that they were real that she had to convince people?
That I am kind of wondering about that also, honestly, to the point where they're like their internet forums and stuff, and the cops are investigating them for murders and like
yeah,
so
like, are you a crazy baby or not? You can't just claim to be a crazy baby and not be a crazy baby.
I mean, she's not claiming she's a crazy baby, Pat. It's just her family nickname.
Family.
Because they want her to be a
Yeah.
crazy baby because they don't want her to get involved in magic for reasons that are not explained.
Yeah, why does her mom not want you? You can't ever be a paragon.
Apparently, there's
Why?
a cost attached to it. We don't really ever find out the cost. Again,
yeah.
there are many questions that need to be
I
answered.
assumed it was to become a paragon, you have to be killed. So if parents
But
want
like,
their
you're
paragon
still alive,
parents want
though.
their
You're still alive. You
yeah,
can
well
kill
that's my
me, come
point. Like if
back.
paragon parents want their kids to be paragons, they got to kill them somehow. And there's some sort of veiled like, oh, there's a price to that they aren't willing to talk about. Because Paragon dude has a melted face because he couldn't get out of a burning car when he was a corpse.
I feel like there's a cost past the actual death because the death itself is sort of whatever in this book, right? Like everyone dies, they come back,
Yeah.
great, who cares? So like I feel like there has to be a cost after that, and I don't think that is. I think that was hinted at but not explained. Also,
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that they want to keep a little bit more of a mystery, but then she fully succumbed. So then yeah.
I feel like there's like a Madoka Magica thing that's going to happen with this, with them
Oh no.
being dead like zombies and
Yeah.
them not fully like realizing. I think it's a Madoka Magica kind of parallel.
I have to find that for the show notes because I don't know that reference.
Madoka
You should
Magica.
watch it.
Don't watch it when you have the flu and are a really strong medication. Just saying.
No, it's a trip. It's a trip.
It's
All right.
even worse. Like, woo.
If you're gonna watch it, watch past episode 3 and you'll be hooked.
Okay. You just say that about every show, though, Pat.
Well, and
Well, animes are weird, so
and also like it's not a cutesy fusey thing. Like it's
No.
not.
I sort of hinted at the darkness with the whole. Yeah, it's got Madoka Magica vibes.
Okay. All right.
I guess yeah, I didn't make that connection before, but it kind of does.
And then the cat that lies.
Mhm.
Of all the cat that lies in comics, I gotta say Lion Cat is much better than Sharpie.
I mean,
Lion Cat.
it is another one of those things where it's like, it's another Image comic that you're kind of like
exactly.
riffing on.
It's a little weird, right? Maybe do some original character
But I mean,
development.
it's not the same thing, right? That the one is a cat that knows you're lying versus one is a cat that always lies.
Well,
Still
and
cat and lion.
he only always lies because
It's been cursed.
He was cursed
yeah, because of the curse.
because Nina's mom put a pink slug down his throat. I
Yeah,
don't know. That was
interesting.
weird.
I don't know how you curse someone with a pink slug, but I would assume you would have done it with like a gem because that's what
Well, I
they
think
do
it's-
magic with.
I think it's a personification of the curse is that slug thing, but they don't explain it. It's just a thing the cat hawks up and then Paragon dude steps on it.
Yeah.
It's like, explain some things.
Well, and how did he know? Yeah, like I said, there's like some things that don't make they explain too much, and then they don't explain some things that like we need to know.
All right. So I feel like I've answered the question of would you pick up the next volume. I probably will. I probably
feel
will.
like
I probably
I
will
have
wait.
as
It's not
well.
prioritized. I'm making you answer it on the record right now, though, Pat. Would you pick up the next
No.
volume? No. Okay.
I am done with Blackbird.
So then it comes down to the person who picked up the first volume in the first place and is the reason we're reading it. Suzanne, would you pick up the next volume?
I would probably take a look at it to see like where it would go next. I probably wouldn't get the next like trade. I would probably get the next single issue and work from there.
That's
Okay.
probably a safe bet.
Yeah, that seems fair.
But Wicked and Divine, pick it up.
Okay,
Read it.
that's
It's
where we're
awesome.
going next. Is like, okay, so if you did like this, or if you want a better version of this, I guess in Pat's case, what would you recommend to people? I was gonna say Wicked and Divine, so now I have to think. Hang on.
Yeah.
Do you want to vamp on the Wicked and Divine for a little bit, Pat, before we?
Sure. Get this, picture this. It's a girl who's an uber fan of these super rich celebrities that have supernatural powers, and she gets caught up in their world of political intrigue and drama. Doesn't that sound great? It sounds great. But this time, instead of magic users, they're literal gods that have come back to Earth in the bodies of 20-somethings. And in 2 years, they die. It's great.
That does sound good.
And what's really great is that premise is literally the first thing you read. They set up that premise. The gods have come back in 20-somethings, and they are going to die in 2 years. And it happens every 90 years. That's literally the first thing.
Yeah, but I mean, text pages are cheating, Pat. I mean, come on.
Oh, good Lord. Well, I mean, what is cheating is they're using gods, so they don't need to explain what the gods are because you have a general idea of what Lucifer
actually,
is.
there's some weird ones in there. There's some cuts that you have to look up. You have to Google a little bit.
I mean, I guess, but then it's falling back on actual
for the most part
fiction. So in that way, I guess they had an easier time of it than Blackbird, but still, it's just, it's great.
All right, Suzanne, do you have a recommendation for someone who may have liked this book or may like a better version of this book?
I mean, I guess if you like kind of like the secret societal living in another place kind of part, or like living in plain sight, definitely check out Fables, like Fables and
Sure.
Ferris, because all of that is like storybook characters living in a secret society right under our noses. And if you're really just into magical girls, you can't go wrong with Sailor Moon.
I think for my part, if I can't recommend The Wicked and the Divine because we already recommended it.
I mean, you can recommend it twice. It's that good.
That's true. But I mean, the other place that my head was going to, because it's like one of the magical girl manga / anime that I have watched, I guess, more than seen because it was on Kids WB, was Cardcaptor Sakura.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's classic.
That was actually really good from what I remember. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember it being great. So I guess I would send you that way.
It still is pretty great.
Yeah, I was thinking about like how each of those cards is defined and you know what it's going to be when it's released and how the gems are not that way. That's why I was thinking about it. So,
oh my gosh, she's using that card? I know exactly what that means in context.
Probably know what the wind means, yeah. So yeah, that's why I was thinking about it. I would recommend that, I bet. If I had to recommend something that wasn't The Wicked and Divine.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's going to do it for this month's discussion of Blackbird. As always, if you want to get in touch with Pat or me, you can find us on Twitter as @thehypnotoad and @MattLedge, respectively. You can also email us at waitingonthetrade@gmail.com and visit our blog at mattreadscomics.com.
It's our blog. It's great.
It's our blog now, Pat. You got to write something and it can be our blog. Suzanne, where can people find you online, assuming that you want to be found?
It's probably easiest to find me in my Instagram, which has lots of pictures of cookies and kitties. And it's Suzanne, SUZANNE _Payne, PAYNE 2019.
Sweet.
Nice, updated it.
I did have to update it. So for anyone who doesn't know, I got married. That's why.
Well, congratulations.
Well, I just thought it was because it was 2019.
Oh, yeah. And Pat was the officiant.
That's right. You were married real good.
You were.
Only the best marriages here.
But yeah, thanks for coming, Susie.
Thanks. I'm glad we could have a nice talk about cookies and comics and
cookies
cats.
And comics. Oh my gosh. New podcast right there.
Comics
Cookies,
Okay.
Comics, and Cats.
We do. Yeah, we got 2 new podcasts we can start putting on your guys' network. We
Oh
could
my
do
gosh. Oh my
One's
gosh.
about cats and cookies and podcasts and comics, and then we can do.
Barely have the time to do one of these things. Join us next month when we talk about X-Men, God Loves, Man Kills, with guest host Bryce Manning.